Resident Evil is a complex beast. If you ask someone what they love about Resident Evil, it's always gonna be a different thing. I mean, I'm sure you've been to a party where there's some normie who says something like, "Yeah, Resident Evil's so scary. Oh my god, I can never get past this first level because I scream too much." Meanwhile, you ask that same normie's boyfriend, they'll say something like, "I love the deep lore of the Resident Evil setting. I like narrative games, by the way." Like it means something. Meanwhile, you ask some kind of sicko and they'll probably tell you that they like Resident Evil because it's a highly specialized pressure chamber, finding new and innovative ways to stress you out like a roller coaster and a mother-in-law all rolled into one. Resident Evil Requiem somehow lives up to all of this at once. It's a kind of the combination of all the things people liked about Resident Evil, blended together into a fine paste and then cooked into the best curry you've ever seen. The kind that makes you stay up at night and think like, damn, I don't think I'll ever have it as good as this one is. One of the most important things when talking about a Resident Evil game is that you gotta look at the games that came before it. In Requiem's case, it's the first new game post Ethan Winters, which is important to note because 7 and Village are some of Capcom's best-selling titles of all time. The only Resident Evil game that they lose out to is, funny enough, Resident Evil 2, and once you realize this, everything about Resident Evil Requiem makes sense. Seriously, most of the good things about this game can be traced back to one of those 3 titles. Whether it's the kind of horror escape room approach that Resident Evil 7 and Village had, or the presence of Leon.
Hey, over here.
Which is a huge part of Resident Evil 2's appeal. It's a game that absolutely highlights the things people are most likely to love about Resident Evil and combines them in a cool way. Nothing it does is new per se, but Requiem is building on the decades of past Resident Evil experience, like realizing you shouldn't go up to the girl at the bar with, "So you like Street Fighter?" Between the game's 2 playable characters, I really enjoy Grace's segments. She's very much the horror portion of Resident Evil Requiem, and she has some of the best stages as a result of that. Every Grace stage feels like this super compact and puzzle-rich experience. It's kinda like RE7 on steroids. You know, the Ethan portions of it anyways. She's not totally helpless, but she's also not incredibly competent either. Even something like having more than one zombie in a room suddenly becomes the hardest thing she's had to do since answering an email at work. It's this kind of difficulty by scarcity that makes Resident Evil so good. You have to work around so many problems and you're physically not allowed to have answers to them because she's got such limited inventory space. The game even messes with this in novel ways too. Her levels have all these increasingly elaborate puzzle pieces, and guess what? Each of those pieces takes up inventory space. Suddenly you're being attacked on 2 ends, one by a rabid zombie hitting Grace from the front, meanwhile all your key items are basically attacking you from the backpack as they eat up all your space, and now you don't have enough room to hold your green herbs. On the plus side, you learn to get pretty good with Grace through this. She almost feels like a baby Leon, being able to do the whole stunning zombies before hitting them with a melee attack thing so that you can knock them into each other. It's no suplex, I admit. In fact, it's barely a punch, but it'll do for a white girl. If nothing else, Grace is a great example of how the current modern direction of Resident Evil is. The bigger horror focus that was first set by 7 feels really good in Requiem, and it's way more fitting of Capcom's premier horror franchise that they kind of stay away from this popcorn action thing that they kind of been going for and focus on what really matters. Atmospheric horror, that's the kind of thing that these games really need to build up on because people want to watch these on YouTube, not play it. Screw all that because Leon Kennedy is here. It turns out the best way to follow up to Grace's very cerebral levels is to chase it with a shot of Leon's sexy man Kennedy. Leon's gameplay sections are so radically different from Grace, I'm convinced Requiem is simultaneously RE9 and 10. That's how different he is, man. Imagine if you went to go watch Casablanca and then in the middle of it, it suddenly turned into Mamma Mia. That's basically what this game is once Leon enters. Instead of having it separated like having one half of the game be Grace and one half be Leon, you get it like the world's greatest sandwich. Here we have a nice thick patty of Grace Ashcroft, and we're gonna also top it with a fine layer of Leon Kennedy cheese. It's an amazing thing what Capcom has done with these characters, because Leon is literally just straight out of RE4 Remake. If you liked that combat system, you're in luck. It's basically the same. The only difference is Leon's not scrounging around on the floor for a makeshift shiv since his axe is like the greatest thing he's ever had. I really don't know how the Leon sections count as survival horror because Leon is not just surviving, he's thriving. This man is thriving and he's also the horror for the zombies. Inventory space? What is that? Leon Kennedy has an attaché case, and it's got so much space in it, I forgot that it's supposed to be a limitation. Dude's just carrying around green herbs like nothing matters in life. I'm honestly surprised he's not starting this game with a rocket launcher, considering how much space he has for it. While Grace is struggling with like 1 or 2 zombies in a room, Leon's mowing through them so hard. This game should be called Biohazard Warriors. I love it. It's the perfect chaser to Grace's sections. Every single Grace section is like, ooh, a zombie, I gotta run away. Meanwhile, Leon's like, a zombie? Singular? Push. There's literally an enemy that is like a potential run ender for Grace because it's got so much health and starts flailing wildly. Meanwhile, it shows up to Leon. You know what flailing wildly is? It's a giant neon sign that says, "Parry me here." Leon can finish it off so quickly thanks to his hatchet that he comes out of these encounters ammo positive. Leon might be the first survival horror protagonist to leave a stage with more things than when he entered it. When you're Leon Kennedy, you can push back the storm, you can fight back, you can parry things. You might think that this kind of bravado ruins the tension that the Grace segments set up, but they actually go pretty hand in hand together. Because after going around for 2 hours having to kite a maitre d', you know what I want to do? I want to just run through it. Leon is the guy that makes you feel like you get your closure by giving you a nice hot flash of power fantasy as you curb stomp a zombie into dirt. I think it's that kind of horror action stuff that shows that Capcom really understands what fans want out of Resident Evil game with Requiem. I mean, most companies would think that we have to take turns, maybe have one entry that's horror, one entry that's action, and alternating between them. Despite this, Resident Evil Requiem instead chooses to weave them into each other, and it does a pretty good job of doing this. It's an incredibly satisfying game because it specifically lets you go, but what about this? Before the game goes, yeah, we thought of that, here's that exact segment. The only thing that will make me hesitate recommending Resident Evil Requiem is its story. Not because it has problems, but more because it's carrying a lot of emotional weight from the previous games. So if you weren't already locked in on the tragedy that is Leon's consistently getting worse life, you'd kind of wonder why he's kind of dour and in a bad mood all game. Despite that, if you knew what he's been through, you'd think like he's actually kind of cheerful for all the nonsense happening around him. In a sense, Resident Evil Requiem is kind of like Devil May Cry 5 when it comes to its place in the Resident Evil games. It's this big emotional journey that really hits it if you have even the most glancing knowledge about these characters and what they go through. But more than that, it's these extreme wild swings that you just can't help but be impressed with every single time you do a new thing in the game. Despite being full of zombies, Resident Evil Requiem is the most alive the series has been in a while, leaning fully on exactly all the things that make you stand up and go, yeah! Seriously, there's so many moments in these games that I don't want to spoil for you, but this game really does just have some cool moments that I think any Resident Evil fan is bound to at least chuckle at. Resident Evil Requiem gets a 9 out of 10 from us. If you have any love for the Resident Evil games, definitely try it out. It's got a little bit of everything for everyone. And seriously, it's also one of the harder games in the series, I feel. Especially compared to how abundant Resident Evil Village was. You will really enjoy this game when it's going on its survival horror kick.